Kekstadt.com. Teddy Kekstadt, what's going on, brother?
Morning, guys. How are you today?
Doing great, man.
Morning, Teddy.
Yourself?
It's been a kind of a crazy dollar day, huh? The dollar's seeing red versus almost every currency around the globe today.
There's no doubt. And we're coming into that swing. So what's going to get intriguing, so talk to me, Teddy, because, you know, like, when I look at this, I mean, we know we've been coming down since the 30th. So it's like, okay, man, you know, I suspect in a longer term we're going to break it. But, you know, in a shorter term, it's like, okay, is it really going to be able to blow this low out like ASAP? You know, but, hey, we'll see. If it does, it's going to be a big problem for the dollar, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now, you know what's interesting is, you know, back in March, we set the range that the dollar's been trading in for the past 4 months. We spiked high, and we also spiked low in that month. Now, as of today, we're hovering right at that low.
Right.
So I think that if we can settle below that confirms one thing. One, it's a big newer move low.
Yes.
And it's also at the lowest point the dollar index will have been since, like, I think September or October of 2018. So now you're pushing at, you know, a good 2-year low also in the dollar index. So now the one thing that is kind of interesting is that your favorite currency, the yen, that's a range trader's delight right now. The U.S. dollar yen trade for the past 4 months, except for a couple swing trades, has been pretty much a very tight, choppy trade, and it seems to continue to do so. Now the other currencies,
look at it, saved itself this morning, didn't it? Interesting. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I know the dollar's actually strong there. How is that possible with what's going on?
Right.
You know. So now it's pretty interesting because we're hitting some big extremes now. The interest rates, remember a couple weeks ago we started to talk about how the short-term curve had already accelerated to its high points that it wasn't back in the 2008 crisis.
Yes.
So now we have the short terms that have all pretty much caught up. Even the 30-year is bouncing near where it was back in the height of the panic, you know, a few months ago, just for the pandemic, you know.
Right.
So the interest rates are pretty much frozen on the short end of the curve. There's a little bit of room on the 30-year, but I was talking to a couple interest rate traders last week, and they told me that March, April, the volume was fantastic. The trade was fantastic. The volume's gone. So that scares me when there's volume that's disappearing in the options and the futures market for the interest rates. That trade is done. That trade is just done. You know, the yen, which is holding like a constant, it's not a flat line. I think it's, you know, the yen, the Swiss, and the dollar are flight to qualities. Where do you look for flight to quality right now? The yen is actually a very stable place right now, you know, and I think that that's something that we're going to see. I'm not looking for any moves or any breakouts there whatsoever, no matter what starts swinging. But I think that, you know, we're due for a correction, for a corrective bounce right now. I don't see anything that's bullish the dollar right now, especially because you have the deals that were signed, you know, for the EU as far as they have their stimulus package now. They made a deal with China a week ago, you know, so the euro seems to be very, very strong. There's no reason right now, fundamentally or technically, to look to sell it. I'd be very leery of trying to fade this bull, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's really where I'm looking at right now. We don't have any corrective signals. Like I said, the U.S. dollar yen, there's nothing there. I think range traders are going to really, really love that market for the next couple of weeks for sure.
No, I can see that. You know, I love that you brought up the aspect of this bond market because, folks, when Teddy's saying that the volume died in the vine, I mean, I've traded the 10s like so much, it's insane. And the bottom line is that the 10s right now are basically, you know, doing 700,000 or 800,000 contracts. Normally, 1.5 to 1.7 million is normal, and you can do 2 million a day. You know what I mean? It's like there's just no more. You know what, Teddy? This is almost like 30 years ago, man. Right?
Yes.
3 or 4 ticks, right? You're in the pit. 3 or 4 ticks. You're going. I mean, it's like
that's exactly it, and that's something that I'm noticing, that pricing is everything when it comes to markets. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, you and I have been trading long enough. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's all buying and selling numbers.
Right.
But volume is something that's definitely a big deal, especially when it starts to fade off in the major markets. Especially this is not a sleepy summertime market that we have going on right now. Volume should be steady and strong. It shouldn't be thinning. So that means that trade is exhausted. So if the interest rates are exhausted, you know, that means that something's going to pop, and obviously it's unraveling the dollar right now.
Right. So when you have, like, I know the currencies love to trend, right? When you come into a major swing like this, right? What is there a rule of thumb, meaning that you're coming down into this, can you bounce a little off it? I mean, I guess in the context, I know this is a hard question, but in the context, I'm just looking at, okay, even if we go back to, let's see, May of 20, May of last year? Oh, no, we're in July now. May, we were at 100. Now we're at 94. And don't get me wrong, I'm bearish on the dollar, but I'm just thinking, you know what, this thing's going to come out of nowhere and probably try to bounce again up to this 95, 700 area or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you never want to try and catch a falling knife. Obviously, the dollar bears are starting. I mean, the dollar was only inching lower for a while, and now all of a sudden it's falling out of bed.
Yes.
We don't have any real major reason to make that happen, I mean, fundamentally or technically right now. So it's almost like, is this the end? This is the last gasp before we get a nice support correction,
Right.
And I think I would be leery of selling into new lows with the dollar right now. I think that you have to look to maybe sell rallies more than buy dips right now.
I agree. I can, particularly how, I mean, the gold and silver market have had a great run, man. I mean, and we're extended, and it's a beauty. And we both know that when you feel like you're King Kong and that never can go down, well, guess what? Slam.
Right. Well, here's an interesting thing too that starts really kind of scaring me is how a couple years ago there was the crypto wave for traders, and it was embracing especially the younger generation.
Yes.
For the first time in literally decades, I'm hearing these college kids and just out of college, because they're all stuck at home.
Right.
And a lot of them are sitting on money. And now all of a sudden I hear this, I want to start day trading stocks and options, and if all I got to do is make 100 or 2 a day, and I'm like, oh, Jesus, here we go again.
It's real. Meaning that it's out there. I agree. I had a couple kids say to me, man, well, listen, you're always making money in the stocks. I'm looking, I'm like, oh, no, it's not even close, man. And it's so weird that was the attitude. Like, okay, where did you find that type of attitude, man? It's like, oh.
Well, you know where they found it? We just had a very big dip. These kids weren't in school. All of a sudden, they started to look at the stock markets, and they never looked at these things. So they were looking at cryptos. Now they're thinking, oh, there's blood in the streets. Any genius or moron can make money at buying a good dip or getting along a bull market. What happens when this thing really starts to turn around? It's like Robinhood. I heard some of these kids are like, I'm opening up a Robinhood account. I'm like, don't you know that they just shut down in the middle of a financial debacle just a few months ago, and who do you call?
And
there's no customer support.
Exactly.
You can't get out. Right.
Unreal.
So,
well, listen, man, the education's always great, Teddy. You have a great week, safe week, and we look forward to speaking next Wednesday.
Thanks as always, guys. Be safe down there, and know it's rough.
Thanks so much. You too,
Thanks,
man.
Teddy.
Thank you. Stay right there, folks. Tommy and I come right back. Dow's up 30, Nasdaq's down 14, S&P's are up.